But we're not going to do a countdown, dude, because we're live right now.
Got me.
Welcome to the Branches of Struggle, where we talk about mental health and addiction. Today, my guest is Cody Alfrod, and he has a wealth of knowledge and someone who is focusing a lot in the mental health space. Combat veteran, very experienced combat veteran, to now working in the mental health space, and as well entrepreneur that focuses on just like wellness and everything. Right? What up, dog?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Hey, this podcast is sponsored by Beech Diagnostics. Beech Diagnostics is a toxicology lab that helps mental health and addiction clinics and professionals test their patients to find out what they have in their system. It is kind of the best way of identifying if someone is taking a certain medication that is prescribed to them or not, or if they're taking things that are not supposed to be in their system, like drugs. So if you guys have any questions about toxicology and looking for a lab you can trust, hit up Beech Diagnostics. And Beech Molecular is it's going to be one of the top labs right now doing the COVID-19 testing all over the nation. They are very reliable, and they can get your results back within 24 hours. So you guys go check out Beech Diagnostics and Beech Molecular. And here we go. What up, bro?
What's up, man?
I saw you like 2 weeks ago, right?
That's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks feels like forever sometimes.
It does.
Hey, dude, do me a favor for people that are watching that don't know you like I know you. Can you give a brief, bio of yourself and your military background and where you're at now?
Okay, cool. My name is Cody Alfrod. I retired from Marine Special Operations back in September 2018. I got out and I really realized that I knew nothing about this transition that I was getting going into. I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, a lot of physical issues. And so for the past 3 years, my wife and I were traveling around the United States. We lived in a van, sold a lot of our belongings, and really took that time to just work on myself, work on ourselves as a couple. And then throughout that time, I started this company called We Defy the Norm. And my whole entire mission is to encourage others through my own actions to defy conformity and invest in themselves, because that's exactly what it took me to get out of my darkness. And that's what it's taken me every day to continue to move forward and pursue the things that I find value in life. So that's me. So right now, my wife and I, we just moved to Northern Idaho, and we run the business out of the house. And we're just super excited to, continue this journey. We have a kid on the way. We're super excited about that. And
bro, it's
yeah,
crazy.
man.
Dude, you're very humble about your military background, but you've started from the bottom as a Marine Corps, new kid, cherry private, all the way up till you left at what rank?
A master sergeant.
A master sergeant. That's the same. So people that know
Like
Halo,
or it wasn't it.
with the guy from Halo.
Definitely the guy from Halo.
Yeah. No, you've done really well as an E8, and you've experienced a lot of the special operations side of the Marine Corps, correct?
Yep. I started off in the Scout Sniper community, and then I spent a few years there, a couple deployments, tried out for Force Reconnaissance, was able to join that community. And around that same time, there's a transitional period where MARSOC, or Marine Special Operations Command, was born. And we transitioned over to special operations. We started that whole entire workup, that deployment process. So since 2006, beginning 2007 till 2018, I was in special operations as a leader, as a team member, and as a student of a lot of information, a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, no, I bet. I mean, you don't realize how young some of our veterans are out there, in charge of a lot of responsibility and a lot of money. You know what I mean? That's one of the things on my NCO write-up was like, he was in charge of $20 million worth of you're like,
yeah. And we look at it as kind of like chump change. Like, I don't think it clicks for us in the military. Like the level of literally responsibility that like just a low-hanging fruit, person has. And then they have such a hard time, or we have such a hard time getting out and converting that to like real value and worth, not just like another task you were given. It's really weird.
No, I get
not
that.
A lot of people deal with like $20 million and have direct implications on like how it's utilized.
Right, exactly. And has the stuff you don't even realize is even that valuable, and you'll probably never in your life as just an entrepreneur in your world ever have to deal with that much of expensive shit ever again.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever have 20 million to look after. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Of someone else's stuff, definitely not. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Man, it's so cool to see what you've done since you've been out. When you originally got out, I believe we met here locally in Utah, and then throughout the years, man, you've been doing your thing, the van lifestyle, which is freaking pretty awesome. That I wish I was in a position to do the same, but you can't fit 12 kids in a van.
But you can't in a
So,
school bus.
but you can a school bus. Yeah, oh, yeah, I never thought of it that way. You got me. But was getting out of the military and just living in the van and traveling just by your own, fruition, just doing whatever you want. Was that a big part of the plan of trying to you knew that you were probably going to have some transition issues, not even issues, just you were going to start facing some weirdness because I mean, you've been in the Marines for so long, that's all you really knew. And then getting into your van and just driving around and kind of, playing it by ear, was that part of the process that you kind of gave yourself?
Yeah, I mean, and I give all the credit to my wife. I was already dealing with a lot of medical issues before I got out. I was actually on a medical board, so I was able to retire early. Um, but that whole process was like, a couple of years of like going to doctors and really just like start pulling band-aids and scabs off my body that I was just kind of like neglecting for so long, physically and mentally. And then I was down in Florida doing some brain treatment. It's called MERT. I forget the exact acronym, but essentially it's just like these magnets. They kind of like zap on your head with a certain frequency, and it's to help stimulate the brain and get it to fire back to normal. And so I was doing that. My wife said like, "Hey, if you had six months left to live, what would you want to be doing?" Because I knew I was getting ready to get out of the military in about like 90 days, and I was like, "Dude, I have no idea who I am, what I want to do, or anything."
Right.
And so I told her like, "Hey, I just want to travel around, like take pictures of stuff." I just like threw something out there, but it was like completely like past my norm and comfort zone because I was a very hermit crab at this time. I was very desperate for help, but I was also wanted to be a victim also at the same time.
Yeah.
It took me time to see victim and connect that dot, but that's exactly what I was doing to a large degree in my life. And so this opportunity gave us the literally the ability to just like change everything. We sold our house, got rid of our debt. Um, because we didn't want any of the stress, and I was trying to cut out as much stress as I could in my life. I didn't want a job. I was very grateful that I was able to retire, so I had my benefits to kind of like help us like stay afloat, and we lived very frugally, but we made it happen. And it was a great opportunity that it would take. It was one of those things. It's like a book that you read, and it takes like a week or so for it to really kick in, like with the effect it had on you,
Yeah.
not the immediate face value. But yeah, it was a huge part in basically trying to like just give no responsibility, take time for myself, and like just it was a calling, man. I needed it. I had a struggle, and it was
Yeah.
an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, well, let me ask you, man, is here's what I think, man. We have a lot of veterans who get out of the military and struggle with finding their identity. I don't know if I had that issue as much as others because I joined the military at 23 years old, already kind of done the college thing, had a baby on the way. I kind of figured out who the hell I was. I kind of had to, you know what I'm saying? My life kind of just took that route. And so a lot of guys who get out and have trouble with their identity, but I believe found comfort in the home of the military. They found the camaraderie, the brotherhood. A lot of my friends, who a lot of people jump to the military because they're looking for a place to kind of call their own, right? They're looking for that identity that here's what you have to do. And so it in my head, if you joined at a young age, you'd probably have the same thing. Is that something that was, did you just didn't know who you were and what you represented when getting out after 18 years, was it you said?
15 and a half.
15 and a half. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, so I joined specifically to be a scout sniper. Like that's it. I wasn't really looking for. I didn't really see things in community at that time. I just like, man, that looks challenging. I want to go accomplish this or see
Yeah.
if I can do this. But what I found out and kind of what I reflected on is throughout that time though, I had really no other visions in life but to execute this one plan. And so I kind of sheltered myself to a lot of things. And I was very dependent and reliant on the military because I mean that becomes your family,
Yeah.
but you also understand how that world works and you understand how to use these, the S shops and you understand how the system operates. And then you start then you operate in that system. Well,
Yeah.
when that system no longer existed, that's when I had the identity crisis,
Yeah.
of getting out. I was like, I literally don't know how to schedule a doctor's appointment in the real world. Like, what happens when my credit card gets declined while I'm traveling? Who do I call? Like,
Yeah.
just some of these silly things, but like some of the major things in life too. Like, if I had an issue, and I think a lot of guys and girls kind of could potentially feel this way. If I had an issue in the military, I could go see, I could talk to my friend who's my medic, and he'd go set me up if he can't take care of me himself.
Yep.
It's instant. It's right there. Instant gratification, instant action, instant obedience to orders, blah, blah, blah. Insert the military life. Then
Right.
you come into the civilian world, and if you don't know how to do that stuff, a lot of guys and girls just suffer. And
Oh yeah.
they lose that connection. They lose that immediate person that was like, a two doors down away. And I can totally see how others can tag on to and hold on to that identity, because that's like all you know.
Yeah.
And
No.
it's
No.
not just like robot military life, but that's just all you know as like a lifestyle. Like,
You
anyone
don't.
that's institutionalized.
Yeah. You don't realize the real world that exists out there. There's a lot more things that have to happen just to go. I mean, to anything to get paid. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can go to just down there and be like, "Look, I didn't get paid this week," and they file the paperwork. Right now, if you don't get paid, you got to call probably 14 different people, and half the time it's an automated system. So you can see why the VA can be frustrating, especially if you this whole time you've had a system that worked for you. The VA is almost not working against you, but it doesn't make a streamlined process of the whole thing, which can be extremely frustrating, especially for someone who is dealing with crisis at that moment. Sometimes it feels like, oh yeah, we can get you scheduled in 2 weeks. And you're like,
Right.
bro, I don't know if I have 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Crazy. Well, tell me, man, like in your path of everything, what have you been finding? Look, man, me and you, we have very similar followings and friendships. And you and I have also been, look, a lot of people come to us about, struggling with post traumatic stress and suicide and drinking. And, it's always hard to be put in that position, essentially to be a voice for the community. But at the same time, you were a senior leader. I was a senior leader in the military as well. I kind of expected to take that role. And so I guess I honored as much as possible, but there's a lot of pressure to that. And so my question just really just vibing with you right now, thinking like, what is the kind of thing you tell someone that calls you and says, they're ready to bite the bullet, and that's something I get often, and I'm sure you do too. Like, what's the motivation you give them, or what's the kind of the 2 cents you can give them out of your own experience?
Well, I've learned through failed error that, motivation doesn't work. Uh, I've learned that, at the end of the day, we are going to make decisions and choices in our life because we are going to make them. And it's as old as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Humans are no different. And that's, I've kind of seen that disconnect in how like mental health is approached. And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. We're doing the same thing. We're giving people false hope. We're telling them tomorrow will be better. We're giving them these lies. And when those lies don't hold up in their own court of, consciousness or unconsciousness states of being, they're going to make a decision.
Yeah.
And so when people usually tell me like, hey, dude, I'm going to check out, I ask them what's going on in their life. And when they start telling me what's going on, right, I get them to like communicate. When they start telling me what's going on, I just help them look at all the things that they're calling issues in their life. I just help them look at it just through a different lens, like
Yeah.
not how I would do it. Just have you thought of this? And then normally I find that just giving someone perspective, that's more powerful than hope.
Yeah.
That's true change. And
Yeah.
now they have an option. And I've learned that so many of these men and women feel like they don't have an option. And the thing is, they do. They just forgot that they're that powerful. And
Yeah, man.
so if you can bring it back to them, they can take ownership of their life, dude. They now have a choice. They don't have to. They can do something about it.
Something that I like to do, I like to address as well, is always that I think when people are struggling the most, they feel like it's only them. And it's like, no, I've been there.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm still there, and like that answer that.
It's my gratitude alarm. So I just
Ah, namaste, mother sucker. I love it, dude. But that's the thing is like I think people forget that they're not alone, right? Like I said it the other day in the podcast, like we're all living in this space trying to find happiness, whatever that is, right? Content with self, like not like content in the position they're in now, whether it's big or little, whatever it is. Like we're all looking for that. You know what I mean? And what I've noticed in the veteran community, there's it's not just the veteran community. That's probably what I most noticed the most throughout the years is like the veteran conundrum, is the human conundrum, right? It's humanity. We all struggle with finances, love, physical fitness, spirituality. Like these are things everybody struggles with. It's not just me, right? But at that moment, I'm like, God damn, I can't pay my bills. You know what I mean? And when you feel like that, it's like the world's ending. Like I'm trapped. Now what? And then you go to the next dude and be like, yeah, bro, I can't pay mine either. You know what I mean? I mean, COVID showed me that when like I had the barber shop and the landlord of the barber, the guy who owned the building was like, yo, you can't miss a payment because I can't pay. He had to pay someone too. The dude that owned the building, right? So it's this funny thing like, oh, we're all in this loop of just everyone trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And when you see things like that, it brings perspective. I mean, we talked about this, or you actually talked about this a couple of weekends ago when we met, or we linked up again. Just that like simple perspective and is enough to change. Like, damn, okay. But that's why like your homies that don't quit at like hard indoctor selections or hard things, right? It's because they look around, they see their friends are suffering too. Because men and women who can endure that caliber of stress, bro, the only way to make it through it is to smile.
Yes.
Because if you accept it, you're already broken, and it's only a matter of time before you quit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're already gone. And so I don't know, man. It's crazy.
That's what I've done through every hardship. I find something like, okay. You know what I used to do in selection? I'd look back and find the worst dude in the room. Who's hurting worse than me? And I'm like, at least I'm not that dude.
Right? There's always one.
And so as long as I'm not that guy, it's like when you go to a poker table, like who's the new guy? Well, if they're all looking at you like, shit, I'm the new guy. You know what I mean? Same in selection. Same as like, as long as I'm not the dude hurting the worst, I still got this. And you look back and you see some dude hurting real bad. You're like, that's a little bit of motivation. I don't know if that works in the real world, but that's how I got through a lot of selections.
Yeah, but a lot of those times were just honestly kind of funny, and like really the only way to keep your sanity was to like find enjoyment in the suffering, because through that is the victory.
It's exactly. I have a message from a buddy of mine who like I was struggling. I think this was sometime 2012, my first divorce, and struggling with not being able to see my kids and kind of like trying to figure that world, right? And at that time, the world was coming down on me, it felt like, and I tried not to use social media at the time. It wasn't like not everyone just jumped to social media for everything back then. I did say something like, oh man, going through it right now. Something very, very mild. A Ranger buddy hits me up and he goes, hey man, I want to share a story with you. And this whole story was about in Ranger selection, and it's called RIP back in the day. Now it's called RASP, but in RIP, it's a Ranger Indoctrinal Program. There's this hell week kind of thing where you're out in the middle of nowhere and they're kind of beating the hell out of you the whole time. And it's just smoke fest. You're not sleeping. It's just, it's one of those things. And I was laughing. He said, dude, I was about to quit and I'm looking back and forth thinking like, man, maybe I need to quit. And I see you laughing. And when I saw you laughing, it pissed me off. Like, what is he laughing at? What's so funny about this? And then he said that perspective really changed his mind. And so he didn't quit. He started laughing with me. Right. Like, and I was laughing because I'm like, they're like, do 1,000,000 push-ups. And I'm like, there's never going to be a time I can do 1,000,000,
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, this is absolutely impossible. And when no one's figuring it out, or they all know and no one's just laughing, because I have to laugh about the fact that they're asking me to do a completely impossible task. And all I can do is laugh. Like, this is complete bizarre.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's,
yeah. And that's what, like, when he messaged me, I was like, shit, man, I didn't realize how much, my laugh saved him from quitting. But like, that's a good perspective in all of us is, that like your company, We Defy, you know what I mean? We Defy Norm, to me is like, it's always that fresh look at things, that perspective and mindsets that can change.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I remember when we did our first podcast together. Remember that conversation we had after that? I got some watcher was like accusing me of some like things, right? Being affiliated with like some like nefarious
Oh,
things,
yes, yes, yes.
And I'm just like, bro. And we talked about it, and I was like really worried because I was just like, I just got out of the military, and I'm like trying to figure out who I am still, right? It was
Yeah.
obviously at the time, and I was like, dude, do you think I should just take down this like controversial thing? And you're like, fuck no, dude, just leave it up. I'm just like, he's like, you're not about that life. I'm like, you're right, I'm not about that life, and that's
Yeah.
not even what this is about. And then it was from that moment on, I'm just like, dude, I just do not just what I want to do. I do what I feel called to do, right? I speak my truth, and that's the true message and the true platform behind We Defy the Norm and literally everything I stand for. You know, I I don't hold on to the military, but I'm very grateful from the experiences and the lessons that I've learned from the military. But the same dude that I was then, I really just left the military like I didn't know how to operate in the world, and like I was like almost like brain dead, right? So I'm have to like relearn all this other type of stuff and like kind of grow as a person and foundational person. But I gave a shit when I was in the military, and I give a shit now. And one thing I saw that was just disgusting in the military was like the lack of courage to stand up and say what's right, the
Yeah.
lack of courage to like actually back up what you're standing up for. And I saw so many dudes like just talk. And I'm
Mm.
like, bro, what is this? And then I get out of the military and I just see so many dudes talk about change. I'm like, you're just another one. You're just
Mm.
another like sprawl, kink in the wheel, dude.
Yeah.
Because nothing's changing. Your
Right.
stupid push-ups aren't changing. You're stupid. Everything is stupid if you're doing it over and over again, expecting a different result that you're not getting. Show me the data.
Yes. Show me the data. I love that.
So like the only way to do it is to show people through your own actions. We have a lot. Social media has like created another false reality in this own reality we live in,
Right.
and it's so hard for people to want to invest in themselves when they see the whole world is perfect. They
Yeah.
feel so discouraged. And then when you're especially a male nowadays, if you're a male and you have any self-limiting beliefs, if you have any self-doubts in yourself, dude, you eat yourself alive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to go out for help, you don't know how to really communicate because you feel insecure about it. Therefore, you're just going to completely not act yourself. And then you get eaten up for it.
That's part of our community, though, man. We
Yeah,
grew
man.
up in an alpha tough guy community in the special operations community is the hardest at that. If those of you who are listening don't know, the special operations community itself is in a huge crisis of suicide. Huge crisis. It's ridiculous in the numbers based on the population of how many special operations operators are even out there. And to know why, it comes down to multiple things, but one is the culture we've created is so tough that they can't even show weakness, right? You can't say those like I'm questioning that, you know what I mean? Because you would get eaten alive. And that's not healthy, man. That's what I try and change, right? I'm willingness to be open about like emotions because I think the rest of our community needs to as well. And guys like you and me, and you know, what I mean, need to instead of talk and say we're going to change things, start changing them.
Facts, dude. I started that journey to invest in myself when I was active duty. I was an E8 for 3 years in special operations, right? Which basically means I did my time, dude, and I showed my worth to be in leadership positions. And as a leader, I was like, fuck, I gotta start self-checking myself. My body's shutting down, like I'm just losing complete interest in everything around me, and that is a liability.
Yeah,
And so I had to at least call myself out. And as I started to get help, I just started to get so much pushback and lashback of like, hey, is it really that bad?
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah,
really need to go to all those appointments? I'm like, bro, I'm an E8. I've been in this community since day one, and this is the shit I'm getting. No
yeah,
wonder we have E5s and below killing themselves all the time.
yeah,
If I'm getting shit,
yeah. The
what do you
E8
think's happening to
who's
them who's literally scared of their shadow?
right, E8 who's put in the position of leadership because of the experience he's done. He showed himself to be, a credible leader, and just because you're going to medical, appointments, you're getting scolded. What?
Yeah,
Hell
dude.
no.
And so it came to the point where I'm just like, you know what? No one's listening to me. And I can do what my guts, what my body is telling me to do is to cower and to suck it up and to be like, you know what, you'll just deal with this later. Or you can be like, you know what, dude, screw that shit, bro. Because nothing in this world exists without you. You can't take care of any motherfucker if you can't even take care of yourself.
Mm.
And so I like straight up went to my boss. I'm like, yo, I need no responsibility. I need to be in a place with no stress. I know that job doesn't exist, but I really need help finding that. And I just kept on knocking on the door. And when I was clear with my words and my intentions, dude, I got the help.
Good.
And so I'm very grateful for that. But it is a deal with. I interact with so many dudes from the military still and from multiple soft communities that are like, hey man, I try to get help and like no one's listening. I'm like, bro, everyone raises their hand, but not everyone gets heard. Not
Yeah.
everyone gets called upon. You have to speak up. And a simple, raising your hand or saying like, hey man, I got an issue. Like, hey, we'll deal about it later.
Yeah.
That's asking for permission. People have to stop asking for permission to get better. And they need to stop asking for permission to like invest in themselves. They actually have to start taking action in their life. And I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about direct action of like you want something done in your life. You can't continue to ask for permission for it. You have to go make it happen.
No, I love that. You have to be your own advocate. I mean, that's early on in the NCO community. You have to be your own advocate. You have to go out there and fight to get your answers. I'm looking up right now. I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna find it. I'll find it in a little bit. But have you ever heard of a vet center? And I'm not sponsored by them by any means or anything like that. A vet center is federally funded. It is underneath the VA, but is a completely different party of the VA. So if you guys are ever looking for a place that, if you've been to combat, a vet center will see you over a VA. A vet center is a smaller, more intimate setup, and I recommend that first. Like guys, like, oh, I can't get an appointment. Go to the vet center. Go there first. They're small. They'll be more direct to you. If you've been to combat, bring your DD-14. Show up to a vet center. There's a vet center in almost every major city nowadays. I promise you. That to me has been. I've sent a lot of guys there, and I've had a lot of success. There's a lot of ways of finding help. You just got to be very adamant about it. You know what I'm saying? But one of the advocates I know that I've used is a vet center. That's a big one. What other things out there for healing that you would recommend, or I mean, just how about what are you going through? Right? What are things that you've tried?
Yeah. So like when it came to like, I try to recommend the book The Alchemist to everybody. That was like a
Who wrote
big Pablo Ocholo, Ochelo, I believe. I probably butchered his last name.
that?
But he's a phenomenal writer. That book really kind of helped me just kind of see and understand perspective, started looking at things a little bit differently. Um, and honestly, dude, time, but just like that time to create a thing where people fell and where I could have failed and I stumbled a few times and I've always went back to what was working. I had to give myself the time, right? I had to give myself the time to actually invest and be committed. I think a lot of guys and girls get out of the military and they stack so much stuff on their plate instantly because they feel like they have to go get that job, get that money, get that next
Right.
degree. And they're just like, wait a second, how about you like figure out who you are and what did that person want to do vice this person that's in a, fight or flight status right now, making these decisions. So,
I found that book title, so I'll be posting it in a second. But go ahead.
dope. Breath work had really helped me out. Just breathing. There's a lot of gurus out there, but honestly, the main thing you just got to focus on is just breathing. That has been a life changer for me. Um,
When
I
you say breathing, can you
What's
explain
up?
that? When you say breathing, can you
So
explain that?
conscious breathing. So you know how like right now we're just breathing, right? We're not thinking about breathing. You and I are talking. You're looking at the computer or whatever, right? Like, but you're breathing.
Right.
So once you can start looking at your breathing as in like, okay, how's the rise and fall? Are you breathing only with your chest, your lungs, or are you breathing with your diaphragm? If you're noticing the fact that you're panicking, you're nervous, look at your breathing. Is it shallow? Are you getting enough oxygen? Are you only lung breathing? You know what I'm saying? So now that you've identified how you're breathing and what current state you're in, you can apply some conscious breathing, deep flows in and out, right? In and out, utilizing your diaphragm up into your lungs and really just purging your system, getting fresh oxygen, throughout your body, through your brain, get your blood flowing, and then reattack whatever situation you're at. And that has been one of the best things ever for my life. And it's so simple. And the world is so easy to get caught up with a lot of things. So we don't really realize, or at least I didn't really realize how many things I had stacked on my plate that was causing me just so much stress and anxiety. And you know,
You know what's so funny
what's up?
is one of this is a secret, so don't tell nobody. But part of in acting, I focus a lot on my breathing. So if I'm going to be mad, I know how I breathe when I'm mad. I know when I'm emotional, and my breathing actually gets me into my character sometimes. Right, that certain breath that I'm like, I'm disappointed. Oh, man, like, and I'm breathing disappointed. I'm breathing of depression. I'm breathing of this like and that breathing is what I've found to be my key to finding that emotion.
Yeah,
It's just
because it's authentic.
yeah.
It's authentic for that situation. So when you're panic breathing, like that is authentically you are stressed. You're stressed out. You're panicking,
Yeah.
right? That anxiety is kicking in. It's just punching you in the face. So now what do you have to do? You have to change that state of vibration. You have to change your state of being to a different state that you want. And you don't want this. So literally anything opposite from what you're currently doing is in a better position than where you're at now. So by breathing and just being conscious, like in the moment, that's why I set these gratitude alarms. I just set out like 7 like arbitrary alarms throughout my day, and days that I'm gonna have my access to my phone, and I'll just type them in gratitude, and they're just random ass times, some are on the hour, some are in between, so whatever I picked. And when it goes off, I listen to it, I breathe in deeply, I exhale, and I just try to look around. It's like the 40-mile road I talk about all the time. Like, how many roads have you ever driven down for like 40 miles? It's like a 40-mile road, right? And you're just driving, and the next thing you know, you finished it. You're like, dude, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
You weren't sleeping because you got there safely,
Yeah.
but you weren't conscious because you didn't remember anything. So how the hell were you driving for 40 miles and you just zoned out the entire time?
Yeah.
And so I found out that, by being depressed and still being a victim and doing a bunch of negative things to my life and surrounding myself to those environments, I was like, fuck, I wasn't really being present to see what
Mm.
I was actually doing to myself, or
Yeah.
if I was even just conscious of what's going on. So the alarms help me out super much. And kind of like all that's tied into breathing. And I don't know, it works for
I
me.
love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
man.
What's the future for you when it comes to what other, I guess, modalities are you trying? I know there's a few that I want to try. I've never done, Wim Hof breathing in cold water. That all sounds dope. I haven't done it yet. I want to start getting into some serious Bikram yoga, some hot yoga, they say. Maybe not Bikram anymore because I think that's politically incorrect, but the hot yoga.
Right.
I want to try. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to try. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things out there that, man, equestrian. I live close to a lot of horses. Me and my wife talked about buying horses and starting on that path, and me kind of getting, one on one. There's a lot of different things out there. Is there anything out there that you're curious about or you're thinking about, taking some steps into?
So I've heard the same thing about the horses. Actually I'm getting into bow hunting. So
Hmm.
I've been curious about that whole process. But I just got into BJJ like earlier
Oh
this week. Yeah.
no, dude, you're gonna have to come roll with me sometime, dude.
And I'm just like, I was never scared to go. I just was thinking about it and not making any action.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem being a new guy. Honestly, I was asked the other day, like, what I enjoyed most about it. And I said, being a nobody, dude.
yeah,
Like, it is, it's just fun to be a student again. And truth be told, I felt entitled when I left with an identity. Even though I
oh,
wasn't
dude.
projecting that entitlement, I felt it inside
Yeah,
to a certain degree. And then even to the point where I wasn't reading books, even to the point where I wasn't listening to podcasts because I didn't want to pick up other people's words. It's just a bunch of weird, silly stuff.
yeah,
And I'm just like, bro, this is time to take action in your life. And I've been working on my mental health for so long, and I've been also working on like my mind and spirit, and I've been trying to bring my body back into the fold. I'm like, well, dude, BJJ is definitely going to bring me back into multiple folds,
yeah,
and it's just my cognitive function is it's not as up to par where I needed that and where I wanted that. So I can already see over time, hopefully for myself, I can start building those quicker twitch muscles, those neural pathways, and able to think, act, and execute at the same time. So it's a really cool process to break it down for me, and I'm really enjoying it. I got another class tonight, my third class, and
you doing gi or no gi?
I just actually signed up, so we do both there.
Good.
So, but I'm just like a dude in like gym shorts and like my gear, just trying to
Yeah.
survive. You know?
So when I travel, I bring a gi with me everywhere
Really
I go. Yes, and
awesome.
I sometimes get to roll. I sometimes don't. But I've been involved in jujitsu since 2001. And so when I joined the military, I already had a little bit of a background. So,
Okay.
the army's like, let's jujitsu. I'm like, armbar, you're naked. You know what I mean? And so as that kind of progressed, I got into the combative side of things. I started becoming a combative instructor, blah, 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 blah. Started to compete a little bit. And then the past probably like most people don't know this. When I was a border patrol agent in Texas, I actually was also an MMA coach and manager for fighters. I brought a bunch of young kids from the border and amateur fighters and brought them up. And I taught MMA Monday, Wednesday, Friday in a border town with kids that they'd show up or they won't show up. If they don't show up, they probably got arrested for smuggling dope because that's the community they lived in. It was harder for them to show up and fight because that's the hard thing. To go out there and run drugs is very easy on a border town. You know what I mean? And so it became a really honorable thing to show up and say, I'm here. Are you going to show up? You know what I mean? And man, that was therapeutic because I got out of the military and I'm like trying to find a home. And then I don't have my kids with me. So they became my kids. I actually raised one of them. He moved in with me eventually and I raised him all the way until he joined the military. So it's just this crazy thing. But
Wow.
yeah, bro, incredible. He's a black belt now, bro. And so I actually told him, I'm going to train and then you can give me my black belt when it's time. You know what I mean? But
Dope.
there is something very beautiful about the fight and struggle of jiu-jitsu that is therapeutic, that is humbling. And I think some of us need humble pie, right? I think, a lot of people talk about psychedelics. I don't know enough about them, but I know it's called the humbler, right? It'll humble you. But jiu-jitsu will humble you as well. You go into the room and 100-pound guy, soaking wet can go in there and tie you in a pretzel. That's humbling.
Right.
And so I love that you're going that path, man. I need to get my butt back in gear and start training some more, but I love that you did. So if you ever come to town, I have a mat in my garage
Awesome.
just for wrestling, just for jiu-jitsu, man.
I was telling Steph, I'm like, dude, now I'm like plotting, like, okay, how can I set up the gym like this? Because I see it as something that can only be beneficial for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it can only be beneficial for me. And then just seeing the community there already, even in the infancy of me even being part of this gym, I'm just like, these are people that I want to be around. We don't have to do everything together, but like, this is a learning environment of like people who are like disciplined in their own ways that are here
Yeah.
for a common goal, and like, just like, I totally get down with that.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
it's awesome. Yeah.
It's a great achievement to gain belts. It's a good platform for pushing yourself and training it. You have to show up to earn a belt. You have to get better. You know what I mean? Which
Right.
that's what I love about it. And there's something that a lot of veterans are drawn into it by. Yeah, it's not the fight. It's not the scrap. Actually, I hate that more than anything. I like the chess match. I like the one hand here, one hand here. Let me shift here, shimmy here. Like these little games you play with yourself and retaining knowledge and being able to counter those. That's the beauty of it. It's not the scrap. Some of those matches they get a little out of hand. I love going against black belts who just play with me because I'm like, wow, they are just so proficient at their little skill set.
Yeah, I definitely am still going pretty tense because I'm just like, oh, these guys are gonna like instantly kill me. Like I'm trying to like protect my neck. But like my goal tonight is to like be a little bit more fluid. So I'm just trying to find that fine balance of being as stated ready as I need to be in.
I'll
But
tell
that's
you this, man. Be vulnerable. Allow them to get you in the worst positions, and then slowly work to get out of them. Like that's as a white belt, it is just learn why you get tapped, and the only way you do that is allow them to tap you. If you use any kind of strength, you're gonna just wear yourself out. You know what I mean? And it's just fun, man. I'm glad you're doing it, dude. Hell yeah, dude. I'm excited.
I'm
That's
excited
cool.
too.
Man, well, dude, let me hit a sponsor real quick and we'll circle back and talk. I'm just going to hit this one video because the sponsors, and then we'll talk more about wherever else you're going with this. 1 second. Let me play this video.
Hi, my name is Matt Shota, one of the owners of Beech Laboratories. I want to talk to you for a second about COVID testing. If you need COVID testing to stay open, if you're a restaurant and you need to test your employees, a doctor's office, you need to check your employees, a school, you need to check the students, allow us to help you. We guarantee 24-hour turnaround time on all testing. We send every positive to the state lab for DNA sequencing. We're picking up all the variances. We're very fast, we're very accurate, and we want to partner with you.
Yo, hi. Where did you come from?
Hey, magic.
Well, cool, man. We're coming up to, the end of this episode. I really wanted to have you on here because, I like the path that you're going in mental health, and guys, with your status, I think you have one of the most experienced military pedigrees out there. And for you to be on this path of mental health and mental wellness, right, to me is important to highlight. And so I think we should be highlighting the good. We should be highlighting the positives. And so I wanted to make sure I highlighted you, man. Is there anything that you would want to tell some veterans out there that might be struggling, in some words of wisdom?
So like our yesterday doesn't define our today. And if you come up to a place in time where today is just not cutting the mustard for you, today is not bringing fulfillment, love, compassion to your life, you can change that. But it starts today. It doesn't start tomorrow. It starts today. And it comes with like that mindset of just saying, I am going to do something about this, because what you're currently doing right now is nothing. So you have to literally flip the switch and take ownership of your life. The only way to get out of the funk that you're in is actually take a step forward and say, this is mine, and here I am. That's it.
Damn. Love it. I agree with that 100%, brother. Let me post a few things for things we talked about today. The Vet Center, here's the website. You guys can see it. It's vetcenter.va.gov. Like I said, don't let it scare you because it says VA in there. It's a different funding, and it's meant for combat veterans. So if you're a combat veteran and you feel like the VA is just too overwhelmed for you right now, go head over to the Vet Center and give them an opportunity to hopefully help you out the way you need. The book that Cody recommended today was The Alchemist, paperback by, well, this is a paperback version of it, by Paulo, I don't know, but we're going to call him Cholo. But you guys go check out that book. And what is it that you recommend about it? Why is that?
If you're in search of something that you've been in chasing for so long, but you're feeling if that's the right path for you or not, this is a great book to start.
I'm going to have to get that myself. I love that. I'm going to check that out. And you guys, don't forget, WeDefyTheNorm.com. That is his shirt he's wearing. It says, I use the F word. And a lot of people are like, oh, man, do you? Freedom, baby. Freedom. He uses the word freedom. Dude, people see that shirt all the time. Like, do you really use the F word? I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah, you're one of those people. Thanks. But yeah, I mean, I just like to make it clear that We Defy the Norm isn't a veteran specific anything. I use my lessons that I've learned in the military, and I help share it with the world, because the world, humans, humanity, that is the root of everything. And so it's not about the veterans. I'm just particular in people. People are my passion. And the more that we can stand in our own light, speak our own truth, people see that. And that's how we make waves. That's how we make change. So I am literally for anyone who's about defining their own conformity and investing in themselves, because the only way to get to where you want to be at in life is by taking ownership of your life. If not, you're just a puppet to someone else.
Boom. Thank you for joining us today on the Branches of Struggle. This is my guest and good friend, Cody Alfrod, and we are signing off.